Stranger Things Season 4 is just around the corner, and in celebration, we're going to count down the top 5 songs from Stranger Things Season 3. In this episode, we're really packing it in as much as we can. You're going to get artist interviews, behind-the-scenes stories, and I'm going to give you my take on why these are the best of the best from Season 3. Plus, you're going to get insight into why each song is such a perfect fit for the storyline. So get ready for a Stranger Things fiver that is going to have you thinking about the series in a whole new way. From perspective from the artist, next on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you love Stranger Things because you lived it, you're going to love this channel. Make sure that you subscribe below right now, click the red button, and check the box. That way you get our daily dose of nostalgia. And also, make sure to check us out on Patreon. We've got some new behind-the-scenes videos of our new live event. They're going up this week, and the link is below. Okay, so Stranger Things. You know, Stranger Things has so many incredible elements that seamlessly transport us back to the 80s. There are the clothes, the locations, the pop culture references. But for me, it's all about the music. And in this episode, we're going to tell the stories behind my personal Stranger Things Season 3 fiver, and the stories behind those songs. We're going to get the inside scoop straight from the artists themselves. So in order to rank these, I'm taking into account a few things. For example, not only am I looking at the song itself, but also the scene that it supports. I'm asking myself questions like, what is the song's emotional impact? How fitting is it for that particular moment? And of course, how epic is the scene overall? As I went back through Season 3, rewatched it with my kids, I was reminded that there are so many top-notch contenders here. I mean, some of my personal favorite bands and songs. There's John Mellencamp, REO Speedwagon, Corey Hart, Wham, The Cars, Madonna, The Who, Foreigner, Huey Lewis, Cutting Crew, and so many others. In fact, I went through I think over 30 nostalgia-packed songs as I put together this list. I'm only going to pick 5, so let's get into it. Okay, coming at number 5, it's one of the greatest classic rock bands of all time, Foreigner with Cold as Ice.
You're as cold as ice.
You can find this 1977 top 10 hit in Chapter 2, The Mallrats. This is where, after spending the day as a material girl at Starcourt Mall with her friend Max, Elle catches Mike just outside in a poorly disguised lie. The two have continued to grow closer since Season 2 Snowball, but now they get their first taste of teen relationship drama. Sick of Mike's duplicity, Elle breaks up with him on the spot, saying,
"I dump your ass."
And just in that moment, Cold as Ice kicks on, and it's a fantastic placement. Elle's even holding an ice cream cone at the time. Mike is completely shocked and has no clue why this is happening, like most teenage boys. Then with this Foreigner classic still playing in the background, Elle and Max hop a bus, high five, and head for home.
You're as cold as ice.
Then Will, indifferent to their disappearance, comes in with a little bit of comic relief, asking,
"Now can we play D&D?"
"No." Classic 80s moment. Here's what Foreigner co-writer and co-founder Mick Jones said about the song.
I was just coming up with riffs and stuff like that, and that came out of the blue. And it was snowing outside as it happened. It was actually snowing. I thought, wow, I've got to be able to put this into something. And really, that was it. You know, it was sort of based on the Joan Crawford type of image. You know, the cold-hearted love killer.
Okay, heading into the number 4 spot, I've got one of my favorite frontman and his band, just a great guy. REO Speedwagon's second number 1 hit, Can't Fight This Feeling. And this scene is actually a lead up to the last sequence that I just talked about. But it's a good one, so we'll go with it. As the title credits roll in Chapter 1, Susie, Do You Copy is what it's called. It's apparent that Elle and Mike have discovered the glories of young love and the almighty makeout session. It's, of course, driving Hopper out of his mind.
Hey!
After getting some touchy-feely advice from Joyce, Hopper writes a speech for the kids about his feelings. Hugging his pillow in bed, Hopper practices his spiel as the kids make out to Can't Fight This Feeling in the other room. It's a classic 80s moment, great placement. Not only did Mike and Elle's relationship start out as a friendship and then grown stronger, but Hopper is fighting a completely different feeling. That impulse to beat down his surrogate daughter's boyfriend. So as Hopper tries to sit down with the two of them and have a rational conversation, it all completely backfires. Mike is disrespectful and has no idea that he may have just unleashed something worse than a demogorgon.
Crazy. You want to see real crazy?
Here's what Kevin Cronin said about this song.
First of all, it's very fortunate. I mean, it's like to have that happen. But Can't Fight This Feeling, I got to tell you, was another one of those songs that when I wrote the verses, they just kind of came out similar to Keep on Loving You, just like an unstoppable force. It just happened, and I remember feeling like, boy, this one has the potential to get into people's hearts and minds and souls and whatever. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen, but in that case, it did. It was
the fourth biggest hit in 1985, right up there with We Are the World, and I believe the Lionel Richie song Say You, Say Me. I mean, it's just a huge hit.
Yeah,
and still, 30 years later, it's there. As we go into the number 3 spot, I do want to thank our sponsor, Zenni Eyewear, glasses for everyone. Make sure to go to Zenni.com today to design your own pair and add great features like blue blocks and anti-fog, anti-glare. You're going to love it. Zenni.com. So in at number 3, it's the new wave prince of 80s synth, Mr. Howard Jones, with Things Can Only Get Better. Now this one is featured in Chapter 3, The Case of the Missing Lifeguard. In this funny scene, we find Steve and Dustin on the lookout for evil Russians in Starcourt Mall.
Evil Russians. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what an evil Russian looks like.
Sharing a pair of binoculars and hiding behind a few scrawny plants, Dustin calls out Steve for checking out girls.
Came off the bench. Dude, you were the worst spy in history. You know that? Stop, hey.
The two friends get into a back and forth about Steve's coworker, Robin, and the merits of moving from primitive constructs like popularity.
Robin again. Robin. Stop. No. Robin, no.
Turns out Dustin has some good advice, but Steve just doesn't want to hear it. And this is a perfect placement for this song. Here's what Hojo said about it. Such a message song. Tell me about putting that song together.
Yeah, well, I was on tour in the States trying to write the second album, which was Dream Into Action. And I had to have a studio with me everywhere because I was on tour all the time. I was thinking, when you're on tour, there's a certain energy because every night you're going out and you have to really pump it out, It's a good time to write because you're not in an introspective mode, you're in extrovert mode. So for me, people love to sing along. So, I'm gonna have a chorus that's really joyful and doesn't even have lyrics, whoa.
Yeah, I love that chorus.
But also, a song that is for the times when things go, horribly wrong and you really think, how the hell am I going to get out of this? I know I've caused it myself, but how do I get out of this? And the song is about, no matter how bad it gets, you've got the power in your life inside you to turn it around. Okay,
we're down to the number 2 slot. And on a different day, I think this song might have been my number 1. It's one that I think is really powerful. Written by the great David Bowie and immortalized for a second time by one of my favorite singers ever, Peter Gabriel. It's Heroes.
We can be heroes.
Actually, this was the second time that this emotionally charged song has been used in the Stranger Things saga. The first time it took place in Season 1, Chapter 3, Holly Jolly's the episode. This is when Will's body was supposedly discovered in the water at the quarry. This time around, however, Heroes closes out Chapter 8 of Season 3, the last episode, the Battle of Starcourt. It plays as the backdrop to an incredibly moving sequence, allowing us to come back down from the high-action scenes of this crazy season finale. And here we watch as the Byers family, who have now taken Elle in, they pack up a moving truck, believing Hopper to be dead, and a tearful Elle reads the speech that he never gave to her in person. I will be king. She then takes a moment to collect herself and carries out her last box to the U-Haul. Joyce then closes the door to her home, and they're off to start a new life beyond the boundaries of Hawkins, Indiana. And except for one post-credit scene, Season 3 is done, and this is the perfect song to end that episode. All right, I have to throw in an honorable mention. I mean, what self-respecting fiver doesn't count down more than 5 songs? Got to do that before we get to number 1. So this one, I'm giving a shout out to the Cars and Moving in Stereo with vocals by the great Benjamin Orr. This song has been heralded as one of the Cars' finest experimental tracks, and even though it wasn't a single, it still gets plenty of airplay on AOR stations across the United States. It's so easy to fly through a window. As for the scene, we're going poolside back again to the first chapter, Susie, do you copy? And here we find a group of sunbathing women, cougars as they're called, ogling lifeguard Billy Hargrove at the pool.
And showtime.
This is as he walks across the deck to the chair. Moving in Stereo plays in the background. It's a perfect moment. It's a nod to, of course, 1982's Fast Times at Ridgemont High's famous Phoebe Cates pool scene. And then in a clever comedic moment, Billy blows his whistle, calls out to a kid for running, and he threatens him with a lifetime ban from the pool. But as Billy does this, everyone in and around the pool stop in place, and so does the music. It's a really nice touch.
Hey, no running on my watch.
And then when Billy blows his whistle again, the music resumes and everyone is back to having fun. I guess don't mess with the lifeguard, right? Okay, we've arrived at the number 1 song, and we have a special surprise for you here. This is the number 1 song for the 3rd season of Stranger Things, and for the top spot, we have another entry from the last episode, Chapter 8, the Battle of Starcourt. And here we finally get to meet Dustin's Mormon girlfriend, Susie. After many failed attempts, he gets a hold of her via Cerebro, his one-of-a-kind radio tower.
This is Susie. I copy.
Susie!
Dusty Bun? Dusty Bun.
However, before revealing the code to save the world, Susie asks her Dusty Bun for a special request.
You can make it up to me now.
What?
I want to hear it.
Dustin and Susie steal the show with their rendition of a song that has a special place in the heart of every child of the 80s, for sure. With a phenomenal pop culture reference, the theme to the 1984 fantasy film, The Never-Ending Story, written by George Moroder and performed by Limahl. Of course, former lead singer of the 80s new wave bottle lightning band Kajagoogoo. And for the grand finale, here's Limahl himself with the story of this nostalgic hit. The way they used it in Stranger Things was just awesome.
That was like, oh my God, listen to it. It's wonderful to sit here 35 years later and talk about this song that clearly means a lot to people. It's part of the soundtracks of their lives.
Well, Never-Ending Story, Keith Forsey, who of course wrote Don't You Forget About Me and worked with Billy Idol.
Didn't he produce Eyes Without a Face?
He did.
Billy Idol. Yeah.
And then Giorgio, of course.
Yes.
Master.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how that came together.
In a recent interview, this is in the last 5 years, Giorgio was asked about this. Why did he ask me to sing the song? And he said, in his lovely German-Italian accent, he is Italian, but he did all the, he did all the recordings in Munich because he lived close to the border. But I liked this song, this Shy Shy. And he sings it out of tune, which made me laugh in the interview. I like this guy's voice, so I thought, let's try that guy. A key thing was, EMI Records asked me to go to Tokyo and perform at this massive event at the Budokan Hall, which is this beautiful hall, 10,000 it holds. This event's called the Tokyo Music Festival. It's a sort of Eurovision, but for another part of the world, with a 10 million viewing audience. And my manager at the time said, well, you have to go. It's great promotion and blah, blah, blah. And you've got a new single coming out. The band had broke up at this point. So I went with my first solo single, Only for Love. Because there's a sort of judging panel. It's very celebrity driven. I mean, the people they'd had at this festival were phenomenal. We're talking Diana Ross. The year that I was there, they had Laura Branigan, who just had that massive hit with Gloria. And a couple of other people. Anyway, Giorgio was on the panel, and my manager was a great networker. He could charm you all evening with stories about his work with Rod Stewart. Billy Gaff was his name. Billy was quite the personality, the entrepreneur, very successful. And I think that he went out for dinner with Giorgio. I know that happened. And he probably told Giorgio that I was going to be the best thing since sliced bread. And then when I got back to the UK, we got the call did I want to go to Munich to try my voice on the recording? I was like, what do you mean try? I've just had a #1 hit around the world that I wrote. What does he mean try? But anyway, of course I knew who Giorgio was. I was very excited. And I stayed up all night partying, drinking, smoking, had about 4 hours sleep. Flew to Munich, nearly missed the flight. Couldn't sing the song in the afternoon because I was tired. And it's quite high for me, top of my range. In fact, I really wish Giorgio had written that song a semitone lower.
Yeah.
I have to work so hard to sing it live. But in the evening, it was fine. We had some wine. And Giorgio was very calming, hey, and he used to call me Lim. Hey, Lim, don't worry. We try, we have some food, and some wine and this, and everything will be fine. And it was. And then the next day, I got the call that he liked it. And the weird thing is, I never met Beth Anderson, the female singer, until years later.
Well, and then they had the great cover of it, Shooter Jennings and Brandi Carlile. That's a movie from my childhood that here in America was huge. It's become a cult hit. I mean, it did well at the box office, but even more so.
Well, I knew that it was the best-selling children's book of all time in Germany. It seemed to make sense to make it into a film. And it was aimed at a young market. We were teeny idols. We were massive teeny idols in Germany. There was this pop magazine, weekly pop magazine called Bravo, and we were on the front cover every week. And so, I think the corporate said, they put 2 and 2 together and said, and Giorgio and blah, blah, blah. So serendipity or fate or whatever you want to call it, it just all worked out. And of course, it was great for me because I was fired by the band in a phone call. At the time, I was young, and of course, I was quite hurt by all that. And so to get this worldwide #1 hit with this amazing legendary producer was sort of sweet revenge, really.
And they didn't have another hit, really.
Well, I thought they wrote some great stuff, but, once you put that question mark in the audience's minds, in the media's minds about, well, you have to reprove yourself.
And then half the fan base went with them and half went with me. And then the record company personnel changed and there's sort of who was guiding us anymore, you know. So yeah, it's obviously a whole huge mistake.
Well, there was a rumor that you were in the movie. I remember as a kid that was passed around at my school that Limahl's in the movie. Who is he? Which character is he?
I was in the video that included clips of the movie.
I think that's where the rumor started.
Yeah.
But you had such an iconic look that definitely influenced a lot of what we have now.
I'm happy about that. That's a good thing.
So what do you think? Did I get it right? Are these the best song-driven scenes from Stranger Things Season 3? Or are there others that should have made the cut? Let us know below. I'd also love to get your feedback about this segment. Should we cover the other Stranger Things seasons or other soundtracks from shows like Cobra Kai, a few others? If so, let it be known in the comments below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and check us out on Patreon. Your support goes a long way to helping us keep the music alive. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.